Welcome to the Kendo and Aido Italia podcast in this English language version. Enjoy listening.
Welcome again today to a new episode of the podcast dedicated to all martial arts enthusiasts. Today, we're doing a really critical deep dive into something absolutely central to Kendo training. The exercise called Kirikaeshi, often called the king of the Kendo basics, and I think for good reason.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, if you can't get this right, well, your Kendo kind of struggles, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's like the ultimate diagnostic tool. And what you really need to grasp is that Kirikaeshi, well, it's done all the time. Start of practice, often at the end, too.
Right.
So because you repeat it so much, if you have even a tiny flaw maybe in your posture, your grip, the tenuchi or how you move your feet, those flaws just get amplified, compounded every single time you do the drill. So it's either, you're fast-tracked to really solid technique, or honestly, it's a super highway to embedding bad habits.
That raises a really important point straight away.
Yeah.
If you're repeating a core mistake thousands of times, how much long-term damage can a badly done Kirikaeshi actually cause a student's progress?
Oh, significant. I'd even say potentially crippling for high-level development. It stops you from ever finding that true power and speed because you're constantly tensing up or you're relying on just your arm strength. The whole point of this deep dive really is to pull apart those subtle little mechanisms, the things that change the exercise from just, going through the motions into real whole-body Kendo.
Okay, let's start with the basics then, the fundamental recipe. What are the actual ingredients, the components of Kirikaeshi?
Essentially, we're combining two key striking patterns. You've got the straight, direct men strike to the head.
The main one.
Yeah, the powerful front one. And then you have the diagonal head strikes, left and right, the Sayu men. Kirikaeshi forces you to blend these together seamlessly into one continuous flowing sequence.
Okay, let's unpack that structure. It's a two-person drill, obviously. You need someone doing the striking and someone receiving.
That's right.
And the action doesn't start way out at a long distance, which I think is a detail beginners sometimes miss.
Exactly. You don't start from that standard distance where your swords just barely cross. You begin from Isoku Ito no Mae.
Right.
And this is a really crucial point for you to get. You're already a bit inside that normal striking range. You're sort of committed to the attack before you even make the first move.
And that opening sequence feels critical because it seems to set the rhythm and the dynamic between the partners.
Yeah.
We start with that straight men's strike, but then straight after, there's this very physical interaction that establishes the distance needed.
Yes, the Taiatari. That full body impulse or bump. It physically pushes the receiver backwards.
Okay.
And what's really fascinating here, and this is what separates, basic practice from really high-level Kendo, is where that power comes from.
Right.
The Taiatari is like a little test. You have to generate that pushing force from your abdomen, your hara, and your hip drive. You absolutely have to avoid just shoving with your arms.
So if your arms are doing the pushing.
Your kame, your posture is already broken. The connection's gone.
Wow, okay. So the Taiatari isn't just a bump. It's actually structurally necessary to check you're using your core.
Yeah.
And that push then sets the distance for the main part, those diagonal Sayumen cuts. The standard count is 9 cuts total, isn't it?
9. Always 9. And the specific breakdown, how you count them, that often confuses new students, but it's absolutely critical for the pacing and your balance. It's 4 cuts moving forward and then 5 cuts moving backward.
Hang on, why that specific number?
Yeah.
4 forward, 5 back. That feels asymmetrical.
It does, yeah. It's about making sure the sequence starts and finishes correctly, and it forces a clean exit, a clean return. The pattern means you start by cutting to your opponent's right side.
Got it.
And you also finish the whole backward sequence cutting to their right side as well. So that RLRL pattern takes you forward, and then the RLRL pattern brings you back cleanly, puts you in the right range to make that final strike with full commitment.
I see. That detailed counting is what keeps the rhythm and the flow going, which must be incredibly difficult to maintain when you're suddenly reversing direction so fast.
It is, yeah. It really is, which is exactly why the whole sequence has to finish with one last strong, straight men strike.
The final punctuation.
Exactly. And that strike has to carry strong zanshin, that kind of lingering alertness, the follow-through, until you've completely finished moving and you're back at a safe distance. You can't just, tap the head and then stop your feet dead.
Okay, that covers the what? The structure. Now, let's get into the hows, the technical deep dives. Let's talk about actually fueling that structure. Focusing on form, relaxation, energy. We always hear start slow, But let's talk more about why that slow start is so important.
Right. The training goal should really be seen as a clear 3-step progression. Step 1, you start slowly, specifically to nail down the correct form. You know, the angle of the cut, how high your hands are, your foot alignment, all the basics.
Right.
Step 2, once that form is reasonably solid, you focus really hard on achieving smoothness. And smoothness, perhaps surprisingly, demands deep relaxation, particularly in your shoulders and your grip.
Relaxation, not tension.
Exactly. Then step 3, only once you've got the form and the smoothness locked in can you safely start layering on speed and strength. If you try and jump straight to speed, you just bypass that relaxation stage, and the technique will always tighten up, and frankly, it'll fail you under pressure.
Right. And the power, like we said with the Taiyatari, it comes from the lower body.
Mm-hmm.
But keeping that lower body drive going during the reversal when you're moving backward, that seems to be where a lot of people break down. They lean back, or they stand up too straight, or they try and muscle it with the upper body.
The reversal is the real test of coordination, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you're striking forward, you naturally focus on getting your weight moving ahead. But when you reverse, your entire focus has to shift. You have to initiate that backward movement with the back foot first.
How does that actually work biomechanically? Because pushing off the front foot while trying to go backward fast seems, well, counterintuitive.
Yeah, it does. It requires a very specific action that often gets overlooked. You need to straighten your right knee.
Straighten it.
Yes, straighten the right knee quickly and, well, powerfully. It acts like a subtle spring. Doing that allows your left foot to slide forward naturally as you move back, keeping your hips centered under you and maintaining that low posture. If you keep the knee bent too much, you end up dragging the back foot, which kills your balance and breaks your connection to the floor. You're sort of harmonizing the backward move instead of just fighting gravity.
That is a fantastic detail, seriously. It explains why just trying to slide back quickly often ends up looking so jerky and disconnected. Okay, moving up to the hands now. The rapid angle changes during the Sayumen must demand incredibly precise sword control, the tenuchi.
Absolutely. The left hand is the key. It's the controller, the axis for the sword. Even as the sword itself is moving for those diagonal cuts, you have to keep your left hand relatively centered, roughly within the width of your own face.
Ah, okay.
The common mistake is letting that left hand drift way out wide.
Yeah.
Trying to force the angle change, that just makes the cut too wide, too slow, and you lose precision for sort of unnecessary flashiness.
So the diagonal angle comes more from a slight rotation of the wrist and forearm, pivoting around that steady left hand rather than a big sweep of the arms.
Exactly right. And speaking of the hands, the tenuchi, the grip itself, it isn't static. It's a conscious sequence of relaxing and then tightening the grip. You're actively using your palms, especially the pinkies, to manage the impact shock, and then you immediately relax, ready for the next strike. And crucially, every single individual strike, all 9 of those diagonal cuts, plus the final men, must be completed fully. Your hands have to come down and briefly stop before you initiate the next cut.
That feels like the ultimate challenge. You're trying to be fast, but you're forced to complete and sort of reset the cut every tiny fraction of a second.
But it connects right back to that slow to smooth progression we talked about. Speed has to be the result of efficient, completed movements, not the reason you start making short and sloppy cuts. If you prioritize speed over completion, you're really just flapping the shine eye around.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me, moving beyond just the physical mechanics. You mentioned earlier that Kirikaeshi is where Kendo's 3 profound secrets really get integrated. Can you expand on that? How does this basic drill actually turn theory into, well, genuine power?
Yeah. Kirikaeshi forces you to apply those secrets all at once, the unity of spirit, sword, and body, or Kiken Taiichi. It demands that your spirit, your kag, is fully committed through the strike, the ken, while you're simultaneously maintaining correct posture and footwork, the tai. If any one of those 3, spirit, sword, or body, fails during, say, the reversal or the taiyatari, the whole thing just falls apart. It's a constant dynamic test of keeping everything unified under pressure.
And since it needs a partner, let's talk about the communication aspect. How does the receiver actually help the performer perfect their technique, especially with distance?
Yeah, the receiver isn't just a passive target dummy. They're an active partner in keeping the drill honest, maintaining its integrity. The receiver really dictates the correct distance.
How so?
Well, the striking range has to be very specific. Not so far out that the strike becomes weak or misses the target area, but also not so close that you're just crowding in. The receiver needs to keep the performer at the correct kamae distance, maybe by adjusting slightly back or forward themselves sometimes. This forces the striker to use the full proper length of the shinai for the cut. It helps the striker really internalize the feel of that perfect striking range.
Let's touch on more advanced footwork. For higher-level practitioners, surely Kirikaeshi needs to evolve beyond just the basic sliding step, the Kirikaeshi.
Oh, absolutely. Eventually, you move towards using Ayumi Ashi, which is more like a natural walking step. It's used to cover ground more quickly, but without losing control.
How does that work in practice?
With Ayumi Ashi, the hip initiates the movement towards the target first, and then the foot follows. You have to practice starting it slowly to get control over that hip lead, and then learn to accelerate very quickly, like crossing an imaginary line with a burst of speed, all while keeping that smooth weight transfer. It allows for much greater forward momentum, which you really need to integrate that final, powerful men's strike effectively.
What about situations where maybe you can't use a full volume kiai? Say you're practicing in an apartment or a dojo with noise restrictions. Is there a way to train that energy output without the actual sound?
Yes, definitely. You can do it through intense focus on kokyuho, which is focused breath control. This technique is vital in Kendo anyway for managing your energy. The exercise involves practicing one full, powerful strike within the space of one single controlled breath. You might not have the loud kiai, but you must still generate the internal tension and the sharp release that the kiai represents. It's excellent practice for conserving energy too. For instance, that final straight men's strike. Even without shouting, it should ideally be executed on one single focused out breath.
Okay, so bringing this all together for the listeners.
Yeah?
What's the ultimate takeaway here? What should they be focusing on?
Look, the goal isn't just to perform the drill to tick a box, to fulfill a requirement. The real goal is to make all these integrated mechanics, the balance, the tenuchi, the footwork, the breathing, the intent truly sink into your body, become second nature. Maximum speed is, frankly, meaningless until the harmony of the entire movement is perfect. Until you really have mastery over that difficult reversal, adding speed just creates chaos.
This has been incredibly insightful. We started with the basic structure, the surprising importance of the taiatari coming from the core, that specific, slightly weird 4 forward 5 backward count. And then we really dove deep into the micromechanics, didn't we? Like how the right knee works during the reversal, keeping the left hand centered for precise sai-yumen, and the absolute need to complete every single cut properly.
And truly mastering this foundational drill, really understanding its subtle demands, that is the path to elevating your kendo. Kirikaeshi forces you again and again to confront your weaknesses. It demands that perfect integration of mind, body, and sword that really defines the art at its best.
So thinking about it all, what would you say is the single biggest hurdle, the main challenge for someone trying to master this drill?
I don't think the true challenge of Kirikaeshi is just generating raw speed or even power. I think it's the ability to harmonize absolutely everything. Your footwork, your breath, the sword angle, your focus, while maintaining perfect composure and technique, especially when you're forced to reverse direction rapidly. It demands the exact same intensity and precision moving backward as it does moving forward. It's maintaining that composure under duress, under that sudden change. That's the real test. Thank you for joining us for this episode of our podcast. If anyone has any specific needs, questions, or requests for further information, please write them directly in the episode notes. Bye, everyone, and see you next time.
Thank you for listening to this podcast.
Kendo Iaido Italia, il podcast.